feels like a clown show. It feels like people playing house with the United States government. But what I really want to talk about is the hyper-violent last week. Every week in the United States feels violent, but there was a horrific anti-Semitic shooting in Bondi Beach in Australia, and then there was a shooting on campus at Brown University. I speak to the Kash Patel there because it's his literal job as the director of the FBI to find this person, and they still haven't found the shooter. The year is ending. We're winding down. People are trying to relax for the holidays, take a beat, and the world will not give us a break. So we had the Brown shooting on Saturday, and then the Bondi shooting on Sunday. And of course the internet then explodes, right? Because everyone has an opinion, everyone has something to say. The blatant anti-Semitism cannot be ignored. And I also want to talk about guns, because a lot of people online on the right were saying, you see, gun reform won't do anything. Something people are not saying, this father-son anti-Semitic, ISIS-inspired duo did not have automatic weapons. If they had an automatic weapon, there would have been hundreds, potentially, of casualties. So it is so lazy. It's really frustrating to me that Americans who are, pro-Second Amendment, pro-automatic weapons, try and use situations like this to be like, you see, gun reform doesn't work. It's like, no.
Well, Australia is also the greatest example of why it does work, right? Because they had a shooting in the 90s, early 2000s, completely changed their gun laws as a result. And there have been almost zero shootings since then. It's incredibly rare in Australia. And as a result of this one, that again was a very rare incident, they're changing it again.
And
they're going to make it
about changing
right.
It again,
But they're going to make it harder. So it's just a natural, logical flow of events that works everywhere in the world, except for the United States.
Yeah.
That when there are mass casualty events involving weapons, that those weapons are typically restricted in some capacity.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore, honestly.
Yeah, on the anti-Semitism front, there's been an interesting back and forth between our friend David Shore and JD Vance on Twitter.
I haven't seen this.
Or I guess Shore's quoted in an Atlantic article, and then Vance was talking about the Atlantic article, maybe not directly engaging with him, I don't remember. And it's really about the generational divide in anti-Semitism, that anti-Semitism is a young people problem now, that there's a huge increase with Gen Z essentially, but I think it's people under 30 that have much more hostile views towards Jews overall. And that's, as a Jewish person, extremely concerning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I zoom out and I think about COVID. I think about the internet. I think about bots. I think about the worldviews that are being put in front of people who are online all day. The Nick Fuentes of it all. He is a vehement anti-Semite, and he is on millions of screens every single day. I don't have the solution. Part of the work that I do is to build new media channels and have, invest in creators and personalities who are presenting a progressive and universal human rights centric worldview, but it's a real problem.
Right. I think a big chunk of it is definitely because MAGA, which is now the Republican Party, has openly embraced Nazism, right? That that's no longer a taboo in the Republican Party. To say that you identify with the ideology of being a Nazi is something that does not disqualify you from being a mainstream voice in the Republican Party. That's just a fact.
Like the Nick Fuentes?
A Nick Fuentes, right. Like the entire Groyper movement. Lots of big Republican names are regularly platforming people who have public association with neo-Nazi movements. The National Patriot Front is part of the Republican coalition now and marches around with Nazi flags.
It's crazy.
It's not a fringe extreme. They have embraced it. And Trump really is careful in his language, which he never generally is, in order to make sure he's never excluding those people from the movement or calling them out in a way that makes them uncomfortable. At the same time, I say it's a horseshoe because the extreme left is also embracing anti-Semitism, right? And no, not all criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic, but the floodgates have opened, particularly around the war in Gaza, that moved a lot of people into a zone that can only be described as anti-Semitism. I think we have to be able to address on the left to say lots of people are seeing horrific things happen and coming to conclusions that far go beyond the actions of the government in Israel and suddenly become a war on Jews all over the world. And that's a big part of, I think, the upswing in anti-Semitism on the left. And so it's a horseshoe for me.
Yeah. With the advent of short form, with the way that, again, these people like Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens even, are being supported and uplifted by members, like legitimate elected officials. It's very, very dangerous territory. And I do, to your point, think there's a way to be hypercritical of the Israeli government without being anti-Semitic.
Totally. And I will repeat again, criticism of Israel does not equate to anti-Semitism. I think that, like, we should be critical of the human rights violations and horrific violence, and also be able to say that that doesn't equate to someone on a bus in LA saying you should be in a gas chamber to like a random Jew, which was the super viral video that I saw this week. Oh, that's not it. That's not A to B.
Yeah.
Right. And for a lot of people it is. For a lot of people it is like, oh, Israel is committing genocide and therefore I need to hate all Jews.
And we're seeing it all over the internet because more and more people are feeling more empowered to say it out loud. There's another video that went viral yesterday of someone who was doing man on the street content asking about infrastructure and roads. And he's like, you know, why do you, I don't even, this is not correct fully, but he was like, why do you think the buses are slow? And the kid was like, Jews.
Straight-faced. Yep.
As a Gentile, I'm not even comfortable saying Jews. Okay? Like, it stresses me out. I'm like, the Jewish people. It feels like
Wait, that's funny. You can definitely say Jews. That's not a bad word. And also...
But it's become, like, perverted because people are using it in such a negative connotation. And I want to be like, you can't... It's crazy.
Wait, that is legitimately funny.
No, I don't say it anymore.
You can absolutely use Jews as a noun.
Jewish people. It's something that I feel more people should openly talk about. I do feel like there's a fear of saying the wrong thing in these spaces, and therefore you don't speak up. But I'm talking about the war. I'm talking about how you can stand up for the Jewish community and not be labeled a Zionist. You know, that's happened to me, or I've said, you know, well, let's look at the history here of why Israel was even founded. And, you know, then they're like, oh, well, you're a Zionist. And I was like,
Yeah.
You know,
everybody say Jews.
Everybody say Jews. Oh my God.